Heyo everyone, thank you for joining us. Got to play Dune Beta Playtest this weekend, and also a few other content creators played. So Controlled Chaos asked us to do a conversation with Adventures with Dread as well. So enjoy the three of us and our initial reviews.
All right, so since we all got a chance to play Dune Awakening from Funcom, what are your guys' thoughts? Let's start with Draco first.
Well, I was anticipating this game for a while because I'd heard about it, and so at first I was a little upset to not get a beta key, but finding out thanks to you, Controlled, that if you pre-ordered, you get access. I was
Mm-hmm.
playing this thing nonstop this weekend to get the ins and
I
outs and
noticed
to
that.
learn. Yeah, yeah. I saw you on quite a bit too, and I saw Dread on. But overall, I think this is going to be a really good and fun game for especially people who enjoy the MMO part. And it's Dune lore. How can you not like that?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not a big Doom fan. I read the books. I watched the '80s movie. I watched the new movies. But I'm more interested in the fact that it's a survival base building game with MMO elements to it. But Dreads, what were your thoughts, your base thoughts of the game from what you've played so far?
Well, I didn't get to play too much because for some reason I have developed a sickness again. I got my cough.
Oh,
Yeah, I got my cough back. I was running a fever all day yesterday, so today I wasn't running a fever and I felt okay. But of course it's Mother's Day, so. But what I did get to play, it was fun. I love the graphics. I mean, I was just
yeah.
wowed by
Yeah.
the graphics. Very, very realistic. Um, it took me a little
Smooth
bit to
too.
get.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very smooth. It took me a little bit to figure out some of the logistics, like how to build, how to place things.
Hmm.
Uh, Killing people wasn't a problem because I just grab my sword and go to town.
Well, see,
You were
Um,
playing a different style than I was playing, which is
yeah.
why I wanted to touch on the next subject.
mhm.
What class type of build did you go with? What skill sets did you predominantly choose? Me, I went with the Minotaur because I wanted to have that tactical assassin's ranged capabilities. That really interested me, and that's why I went that direction. What about you, Dread? You said something about
I,
swords, so I'm
I was,
thinking swordman.
yeah, I was trained by a master swordsman, but I was also trained by the Bene Gesserits.
Ooh, mixing it up
So,
there, adding
yeah,
in swords and
Nice.
business.
yep.
That's actually really cool because I heard that the business generals get ability to call the enemies to you. So that's a great way to pull the enemies to you for the close combat that you're doing. That's smart thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
But
went
the
Trooper, and
Trooper.
I should have went Mentat because that fits my play style better in these games. But the
Hmm.
Trooper was fun. I like the grappling hook. I like the fact that I had grenades. But you know, it was tough. I'm not gonna lie. The close combat, the melee combat, for me
Yeah.
was a little stuttery, and of course there was the bug that would stick you in one view sometimes, so you couldn't spin around. So I didn't have fun at that.
Yes.
But
And that's what a lot of people have been saying is that ranged combat feels really good. The
Mhm.
melee combat just sort of feels off and a bit sluggish. And I have to agree with them. It just doesn't feel right. And with what you're talking about, keeping that view, I think it needs to keep you locked in the third person behind when you're doing the melee combat. So when
Yeah,
you do those
or
hard strikes and missed,
some
you're
type
not
of
all of a sudden looking at the front of yourself
or
when they do
some
the dodge.
sorry, or some type of
Yeah, go ahead.
assisted, lock on or something. But only when you have a melee weapon, because then
Yeah,
if you're doing
like
ranged, it's kind of.
so. Yeah, as a
I
game
didn't have I
designer.
didn't
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Dre.
didn't have any issue. I didn't have any issue with third person. Every time I attacked somebody, I have those little people who are hiding in the caves and stuff, and they're trying to shoot at you. Every time I went after them, I was always in third person.
I kept on missing. I'd go hit them and they would do like a dodge.
Yeah,
And
it
then that would
wasn't
Oh,
mess
yeah, no.
everything up and
I
get
guess
the issue.
so
I guess
much the
hand to
third
hand is
person.
pretty my thing.
What it
Yeah.
was a bug that I found out about, a lot of people found out about, is it was locking your view. So like I couldn't move my mouse. Like if they dodged and went behind me, I couldn't look behind me. I was locked in that one view ahead of me, and they were just like annihilating me from behind.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
yeah, I didn't have that problem.
Oh, you're
and
lucky.
I guess I got lucky.
as a game developer, what I would do in that situation to help with that bug is I would do an if statement. If you have a melee weapon, have a soft lock where the camera follows the character and the character turns with the camera
Yeah.
after the animation is done. Or even during the animation, just turn the camera.
Yeah.
And that would fix the problem there. And the soft lock just means that okay, you're looking that direction instead of the camera panning to follow the person that's dodging. Keep the camera still.
Yeah.
Is
I
another
agree
way
with
that they could do it, and I think that's where the other problem is. So there's two ways of doing that.
But you also just want to touch on this. You mentioned about the firing range, the longer range with your rifles and stuff. There was one thing that got me frustrated, is the peeking. So I would go to try and peek around a corner, and it would look like I have perfect target, and then the next thing I unload a clip into the wall.
Yeah, that's a big problem with not having actual correct cover mechanics put in
Yeah.
for trying to do that. It's not designed for you to shoot behind cover that well. And that's the problem, is they didn't do an actual full cover mechanic. You're doing it like every other first-person shooter or third-person shooter normal. They're not doing a Gears of War type system where when you go to shoot, it aims over the cover you're behind.
So, I made a gun and I made those dart things for the gun, but I never even used it.
You never even used it. You never
I was
experienced
so used to my sword. I was just like, whip out that sword or that knife and,
Nice.
Now,
go to town.
what did you guys think of the survival mechanics? How about we have Draco go first?
Okay.
Okay.
I was going to let Dred go first. It was Mother's Day, but no problem.
You're right.
The survival mechanics I thought were well done, but there was some aspects of it, such as like the hydration system, I thought was a little fast. Like it felt like I was losing and needing to get water just as much as I was doing anything else. Does that sound what what you guys
I
got?
thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I mean, we are on a desert planet, but I think at night it shouldn't be consuming so much water. I think at night it should consume half the water, because you already have that other danger out there of them searching. If you get caught in the light, it sort of holds you up in the air, and then it drops soldiers down on you, besides the sandworms and all the other dangers. And so I think that's where they could ease up on the water drain. Plus, deserts at night are cold. You're not going to be sweating at all.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what
you're
I
not
was
going to
thinking.
get as thirsty.
Did either of you have a problem filling up your hydration meter? I could never get it to go past the first bar at the bottom.
Okay, so with that because you didn't get a chance to play much, when you build a base, you actually build a thing that will allow you to take blood and turn it into water.
Okay.
And then
I
drinking
made
from
gun.
that will fill it up beyond that first bar. Plus, there's also later on you'll get this scythe that will suck the water out of those plants and you'll have this
Yep.
bottle that you can put it into to drink from or put into your water dispenser.
Yeah, your
Cool.
leader, John. Basically, it's sort of like he said, a water bottle you're carrying around with you.
I mean, I never had a problem. I never ran out of water and died or anything. But
Right.
I just was like, dang, I'm drinking from these flowers, and it's just giving me a little bit and saying, oh, you're hydrated. Well,
Yeah.
my meter doesn't show I'm hydrated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's sort of an offsetting thing that I think they could have explained better in the tutorial. That's one improvement I think they could have made.
Oh, there was a tutorial?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Through the whole entire thing, it's sort of.
I just went right into it.
Yeah, at the beginning, it asks you, are you a beginner of survival games or are you an expert of survival games? Because you play a lot of survival games, Jared, I'm pretty sure you said that you were an expert, so it didn't show you the tutorial.
Oh, well, I'm not an expert, but
You play a lot of survival
I'm
games.
not a noob.
I was gonna choose that. Yes, I don't need the tutorial because I know how to play them. But I was like, you know what? I want to experience the tutorial at least once. And
Yep,
yeah,
I
it
was the
definitely
same way.
lacked in explanation on certain things.
I'll get to do it again, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll be making our characters all over again when the game comes out on June 10th.
And I hope to be all on the same server. Mikey is going to play.
That's where I want to get
others.
together with you guys. Since we're going to be playing together, we're going to have characters that we'll only play with together.
Yep.
And then we'll have our own separate independent characters. Those characters that we play with together, I want to make sure that we're on the same server and same shard.
Yep.
Right.
That way we can mess with each other and do just to let you guys know, the other plan is that I want us to also give full access to all of our to each other of our bases, our vehicles and stuff like that, because the whole entire plan is we're going to go out and do stuff as a group, but I also want us to be able to sort of mess with one another. Come back and, hey, wait, I'm missing a tread off of my bike. Who took my tread?
So
with the others laughing and stuff like that. Just goof around and have fun.
Along those lines, Dredd just said, like, all of us in the same tribe, which is what, for this one, it's a guild, but it's the same idea that we're all in the same group or whatever. But I don't know if you guys noticed, because I'm not sure if Dredd didn't build a base yet or not. She might not have noticed.
Yeah,
but
kinda.
you can give
sad-looking.
access to even just your friends. You don't even have to be in the same tribe or guild. But there is an option that if you are in the guild, you could give all your guild mates. So you could set it up so that all your guild mates get it. Or you could set it up that just like you do it. Or you can set it up that you and your friends can do it. I like that versatility,
Well, and then there's also the versatility of making it public.
Oh, yes. I noticed that too. Yeah, you can make it public. I mean, I thought that was a great
speaking
thing.
of that access to stuff like that, what did you guys think of the base building mechanics?
Go ahead, Chris.
I liked it, but are we supposed to build in the sand? I was trying to build on the rocks because I didn't want to be out in the sand because the sandworms are out there.
Yeah,
right?
the tutorial actually tells you not to build out on the sand. You want to build close to the rocks or along, up the side of the mountains or whatever. So
I saw so many people just building these big things just off into the sand.
So
and I'm like,
if you're close to a rock formation, they consider that part of the rock formation. So you don't have to be out in the middle of sand. If you're out in the middle of sand where the sandworms activate, then
they were close to
it will eat that. So if you're close to the rock formations, you're good.
Yeah, that's the buffer zone, as I like to refer to it.
Exactly.
Between the sandworms and the rocks.
I thought it was interesting that it gives you the base building, but the one thing that they need to point out in the tutorial is to point out that you need to hit R a little bit more clear. They need to put like a pointer icon down where it shows to hit R to show more base building parts, because I spent 2 days going, how do I get the garage door? How do I get the
Yeah.
garage door? And then I saw it, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to hit R.
Yeah, or
You
highlight
know?
it, or do something to make that stand out. Because I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have only this? How do I access, like you said, the garage door or whatever? And yeah, so a tip is to just keep attention to your user interface, because it
Yeah.
definitely does not explain everything that you can do there. I also had
Yeah.
problems with the building, like, oh, I put a wall in the wrong place. How do I remove this? I didn't know that I could just, right mouse click and it goes through a small menu of, move or destroy or any of that, demolish.
Yeah, I agree with you, Draco, on
Yeah.
that, and that you need to take your time and every menu option you have. So when you go into build mode, pause for a moment, take your time, look at the whole entire user interface, look everywhere so you see what things are. Play with the different buttons and functionalities to get used to things. And that's the reason why I like getting into this test early, is that way we can get to actually full on playing the game really hardcore and know what we're doing,
Well,
which
not
is
only,
nice. And
sorry, not only that, but as
yeah,
content creators, which we all are, we can help other people by showing them that in tutorial videos or live plays or
yeah,
however.
definitely. Definitely, and I think that's really cool. Now, I want to move on and talk about the sandworm.
Before you do that, there was one
Yeah.
thing in the base building that I talked with Mikey about, and he felt the same way. He actually
Okay.
brought it up, was the storage compartments where you store your
Hmm.
materials and resources. It would be nice if they had some sort of snap system so that you could line them up, you know? Uh,
That
it,
would be cool.
it would be a
I
great
agree.
addition, I think. And I haven't done the survey yet for the weekend, and there is Mikey did it live online with those of us in chat, and there is a
Hmm.
section where you can write in and like things that you thought you would like to see in there. So I'm hoping a lot of people write in about that.
Yes, definitely right in about that, and I agree with you because I'd like to be able to snap them together to make it very uniform too. Because mine looks a mess and a jumble. One's a little bit forward of another,
Yeah.
one's a little off angle from the others, and it just looks messy. The one way that they could do it is they could build out a grid system. Just sort of like
Yes.
in No Man's Sky, where you have the snapping and no snapping, and give a toggle option to the player. So if a player want their base to look like it's a little bit jumble, they can do that, or they can put in a grid snapping system.
Yeah, I'm
Is how
very
I,
OCD, so
I'll pronounce.
lining it all up correctly, that grid system, I would love it. You mentioned No Man's
Yeah,
Sky. I played that a bit, not as intense as you
yeah.
guys, but also you and I talked, the other day about how we play Stars Reach, and they have that grid system, which I love. So that would be a
Oh, I
great
love that grid
tool.
system with the snapping. And the great thing is it even works with the consoles that we have in the game for
Yes,
creating,
yes.
the tools and console and the stove and stuff like
Stations, yeah,
that.
the
It
crafting
snaps
stations.
around,
Yeah.
and that's really nice. And the fact that they did that in pre-alpha to make sure it works. That's a great system. I think all base building games from here on out should look at Stars Reach's base building system.
Yeah,
Because
that
so many games, they'll have that block formation, and then they'll have the wall formation, or they'll have like pre-built rooms and stuff like that, and the two won't work well with one another. Like in
yeah.
No Man's Sky, you have those base rooms that you can build, and then you have the wall, floor, ceiling system, and the two do not connect well together at all.
Yeah.
You
So,
have to shoehorn those pieces to work together.
did anybody have any issues with getting the power to work? I spent a
No.
half an hour figuring out how to get the power to turn on.
In the world, you will find fuel cells,
Yep.
small little flat rectangles. Pick those up along with the big block ones that you have to cut apart, which will give you a
Yep.
huge amount. go back to where your power station is, hit E interact with it, and just click the refuel button. It will take all of the power cells from your inventory and put it and fuel up your base.
Yeah, it just took me a half an hour to figure that out.
So, so yeah, there's also
Turn on
it's
already.
one of those tutorial things.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say also you got to pay attention too that one generator only puts out 75 volts, right? 75 V.
Yeah.
And so if you throw down crafting stations and they start going over that, your crafting stations and everything are going to shut down and you're going to have no power. And it doesn't tell you, hey, pay attention to this, that you're going to need 2 or 3 generators,
Yep. And that's a very good point, because I actually ran across that. I was sitting there building,
Yep,
put
me
down
too.
another crafting station for building the bike, my own personal bike, and all of a sudden the power shut off.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
the small
the
refinery.
heck is
Yeah.
going on? I ran to my power generator, opened it up. I got like 14 days worth of energy. I'm like, what's going on here? I said,
This
well, the
guy's
only
got
thing
like
I can think of
600 fuel cells in there and it's like not running.
yeah. And
Like,
so
it's
the
a
only thing I
flat
think, yeah, the only thing I could think of was, well, maybe I need another generator. So I plopped down another generator. Then I had to go out and harvest more fuel cells just to put enough to get that one running. As soon as I put
Right.
those fuel cells on, everything turned back to life.
Now, speaking of those generators, did you know that you could go to its inventory and split the stack and taking half of those out instead of run out and get more cells?
I didn't even try that. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
I just like,
this is
I need to go out and get more. I didn't even think about
After
going
that-
into its inventory and
after
splitting
that
the stack.
building with the hit R thing. I was like, I'm
Mm.
gonna start reading everything very carefully, and that's how I found out. I was like, whoa, these things have their own storage. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, hey, look, it can store like 15 slots of whatever the amount of power cells are per stack, So I was like, hey, split them, and I started doing that.
reminds
Yeah,
me
I
of
didn't
Planet
think to
Crafter.
look into the storage. I knew that there was storage, but my mind didn't even think that way.
Yeah, because you were
And
panicking.
that's just because I was already trying to figure out what was going on and solve a bunch of other problems. And like, okay, if this doesn't work, if that doesn't work, then I need to write a bug for this. How do I formulate that? I was in test mode. Whenever I'm actually in a test for a game, early access, into a beta and alpha or whatever, my mind automatically goes to that tester mode. So I'm sitting there hitting every single key while I'm doing things. So like when I'm in combat, I'm hitting the J key and the H key while in combat and hitting the combinations, because that's what testers do. It's
Yeah.
ingrained in me. I did it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm literally trying to, while recording, I'm trying to play the game, break the game, write bug reports, make sure that it's still recording and that the recording is good, and I'm just multitasking like mad. So yeah, I missed several things. Which one of them being is when we go into the first test facility and it tells us to get that film. I went through the test facility like 2 or 3 times looking for it and couldn't find it. And it gives you no clues whatsoever. I actually finally reached out to you, Draco. I'm like,
Yeah.
have you been able to find the film? And he's like, oh yeah, it's by a book. It's hidden behind a bookcase. And so I'm looking at all the different bookcases. He's like, look for the one with the light. And I'm thinking, okay, they separated 2 bookcases just enough so that the light from the other room would come out. And he's like, no, it's the light in the center. And I finally found a guy. And I'm like, oh man. And then you explain how you found it.
Yeah, so I too ran by it the first time, not knowing that they were going to do hidden rooms like that. But I like they did, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I ran past it first too. So when you reached out, I was trying to not just give you the information, I was just trying to give hints and stuff because, that's how I feel. We are all testing it and wanting to experience it for ourselves. So that's why I told you, oh, it's just a hidden bookcase. And then, oh, no, there's the light in the center. And,
Yeah, you were drip feeding me hints, which I really liked. It made the interaction more fun because I'm going, okay,
Yeah.
bookcase, and so I go through that third time. I'm looking at every single bookshelf I can find, looking at it at every angle, trying to see if I can get an interact button or something like that,
If it
or
was
maybe
real
there's a
life or
switch
movie,
nearby.
all you would
And
see
then
is the
when you mentioned
cutscene
the
of
light, I'm
Control
like,
just pulling books off shelves.
yeah. Exactly. It was so fun, but you were also so helpful on that. So I greatly appreciate you
Oh, no problem.
repeating me the tips and hints.
Dred and I
It
have
made it
gamed
fun.
Ark together and a few other games, so she knows how I can be helpful. You know, sometimes depending on how I feel, you need the help, and I think, you know, all of us do that to a point. I would rather
Yeah,
be fed
definitely.
hints than just, oh, it's over here, you know.
Right.
Exactly. I'm not a big clue person, but Dred, I know you probably haven't gotten to the point to get that film, right?
The film? No.
Yeah. Okay, so
I did go to there was a ship where I had to figure out how to get in, and that using the cutter.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I had to go through some rooms and attack some people, and then I was able to get to the captain and get some kind of key from him.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
some
no,
kind
this
of,
is a different one.
This is a
This is
testing
a
station.
test facility.
Yeah.
And
okay.
so
I didn't get to the testing station.
my question for you, Dred, is do you like games where you have to explore and look around everywhere? And do you like looking at every like nook and cranny to see what you can
Oh
find?
yeah.
You're
That's why I
gonna
played
love. You're gonna love the test facilities because that first test facility, like we were just talking about, you need to hunt to find the secret passageway.
Yeah.
Good.
Like
And so that
Sounds like a fun time.
you'll walk right by it the first time, even though you heard us just talking about it. I
Yeah.
can almost guarantee it.
I mean, we
Maybe,
got another
maybe not.
month until we're able to
Yeah.
play, so it will skip your mind, and then
Yeah, exactly.
me and you, Draco, we need to remember not to just straight out tell her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In
We'll
fact,
have a little fun with it.
Here's the deal, Draco. When we do that test facility, we need to remember this, and then have Dred lead us through the test facility.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have her the leader,
And see if
and
she
then when
passes
she walks by it down the hall and around the corner, you and I'll go in and get it and come back out.
No, don't say a word. Let's just keep following her, not say a word, and see
Oh,
what
gosh.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
I know I've just met you kind of face to face, so to speak, you know, voice to voice, but I like the way you game already.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. We talked about this, and considering you know Dred, and I know Dred likes messing with other people at times and having fun. I'm the same way. I was just immediately, and then watching your content, I was immediately the same thing. So that when I saw you were interested in Dune Awakening, that's where I was immediately. I invited you into this whole entire group thing that I want to do, which any other content creator doing Dune Awakening, if you want to join us in this whole entire thing of messing with each other and just having fun, reach out to me. Link to my Discord is in the description. Join the Discord.
Or
DM
my Discord
me.
or Dred's.
Yeah,
all of them. Join all of them.
Draco's Discord. Or Dreads, and message one of us. Let us know. You know. So as I was saying earlier about the worms.
Yeah.
Have you guys experienced the worm yet?
I'll let Dred handle that one.
Careful. I was careful about running through the sand because I know you have to not be methodical. It has to be an off rhythm.
So, real quick, what Dred is trying to say is I don't remember how old all of us are here, but it used to be by, I think it's Fatboy Slim, a song with Christopher Walken in it, and a great quote in it is, if you walk without rhythm, you won't attract the worm. That is like the best thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is I've gotten really close. I've actually died a couple times to the worm.
Yeah.
You know, one of them was on purpose just to get footage. The other time was me just being stupid and not paying attention. But even on the sand bike, I was traveling across, going into the next zone over, and the worm, meter had gone red. The worm had popped up. It started chasing me, and just before it eats you, the camera zooms out.
Yeah.
I'm almost across, and the camera zooms out. I'm telling you, my butt never puckered so much in its life.
So to add to that,
I was like, oh god, oh god, oh god, and then it snapped right back. I'm like, I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm freaking the hell out about this. Because you literally lose everything.
yeah,
It's not just a little bit, it's
you lose your
everything
bike, you
on
lose your
you
inventory,
is
everything.
gone.
So my experience with them, if you're finished controlled,
Yeah, go ahead.
is, as I said, Mikey was streaming, and I was playing on the same server as him and Dread, just playing around while I'm a mod on his YouTube. So I, paying attention to him plus playing, and he's like, when he wanted to transfer some resources from one of his bases to the other, he hadn't quite got the bike yet. But I did, so I was like, oh, I can pop on the second seat and I'll come get you. He was at his first base that he had just left, and he just finished his second base. So I was like, oh, I can come to your first base and help you. So on the way there, he's like, all right, just tell me, and this is all on one of his videos. He can't hear me, but I'm in a Discord call with him, and you can hear him on stream. Tell me when you get closer. Okay, I'm like 900 meters. Oh, shoot. He's like, what? I just got eaten by a worm. I lost everything, dude.
Oh no.
And I didn't want to spoil it for him, so he's like, what? I was like, oh, there's a cutscene, so I'll just tell you that. I says, but I'm going to have to make a whole new bike and get to you. And so he's like, okay, cool. So I did that and then picked him up, and we're on the way back to his base. And I think I scared the living daylights out of him. Again, this is on one of his videos, that the sandworm almost got us. And then afterwards, I say to him, I think we have to change our still suits because mine's a little dirty.
I hope he has a recording of that to play that on his channel.
He does. I told him I'm gonna clip it from his channel if I can, and put it on my site, my YouTube.
Oh, that's just epic. Yeah. And that's the thing is the variety of what you can do. Now, with there being some PvP in Haga Basin, but mainly in the deep desert, do you guys plan on doing any PvP? And if so, how much? Let's go with Dread first.
PvP?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what we want to do, I'll go ahead. I'll do that. I'm game.
Hey, what about you, Draco?
So, I've done PvP in other games, and I tend to do more PvE because I like to be more helpful, but I'll get down and wreck someone. I don't mind PvP at all.
Okay. Now, have either of you done combined arms PvP, and do you know what that is?
No.
No, I can't say off the top of my head. I remember.
Okay, so combined arms PvP is when you have infantry soldiers, ground vehicles, and air vehicles all fighting each other at once.
Yeah, okay.
And this is on a pretty nice large scale. I'm not going to say large scale. I'm going to say medium scale. Because most games like Battlefield 1942 and stuff like that, you get about 64 players at max. This is going to have like a couple hundred people. So it's decent sized.
Yeah.
I have played PlanetSide and PlanetSide 2, where it's not hundreds of people. Well, PlanetSide 1 was hundreds of people. PlanetSide 2, imagine fighting 3,000 people all fighting at once.
Yeah.
All fighting each other. PlanetSide 2 actually holds the record for most people fighting in the same battle online.
Wow.
Wow.
And is combined arms. So I think where I'm going to be able to share my most experience in helping you guys out is when we do go into the deep desert. I'm going to teach you guys the tactics of how to play that.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
I have played
that'd be
a
cool.
game with that. I didn't realize that's what it's called, Combined Tactics. But if anyone's played Halo Infinite, some of the PvP is like 100 versus 100, and you have the ground squadrons, the foot soldiers, then you have the vehicle soldiers, and then you have some of the air ones as well. And I did like that. So if this is going to be what it's like, then yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, that's what the deep desert one is like. And it's all going after resources, and we can build bases on there and stuff like that. Now, granted, they'll be wiped after a week.
Oh, yeah.
But that's where I think the blueprint system comes in.
Yes,
and it's very powerful
that.
because we can build a blueprint of a base and just pop it down and start building.
Yeah.
And did you guys know that we can see each other where we're placing our blueprint pieces as we're building?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know if Dredd understands kind of what you're saying, but what you can do is you can blueprint the base and design it how you want. Then you can build it, and then you get a tool where you can copy it as well.
Oh, like in what was that other game we played, Draco? It was you, me, your brother, and Gravy.
Yeah. Oh my word, I forget. I know what you're talking about. It was. Hold on, let me look.
Once Human.
Once Human, yes.
Oh, Once Human, yeah, that has the same mechanic. But this one, we can all be working together to build the blueprint of the base and see where each other is placed parts for the blueprint.
Right. That's more like grounded. Right. I like that idea.
Yeah, and that's a really nice system.
Yeah.
So that allows us as a group to build bases very, very quickly.
Now, how far...
we can break it up where one person's going and getting one resource, another person's going and getting another resource, and one person's putting down the pieces, and the other person is putting down the blueprint of where to build.
Yeah. One person blueprint and one person filling it in, one getting resources. Yeah. That's the thing I like about games like this, is the cooperative part of it. That's what these MMOs are supposed to do. Get a group of your friends together, do things like this. When I first started playing Ark, which is one of the games that got me into the base building survival genre, that's what I did. I was with a group of 5 other people, and we had one person that would go out and collect resources, one person that would go out and tame animals, one person that would build bases, one person that did, construction of armor and weapons. And, that's what I started as, and that's what I enjoy. So I'm looking forward to our collaboration on this, Dune Awakening.
Everybody has a job.
Yeah.
Exactly. I see us working on this and doing this in Dune Awakening now. When Stars Reach gets closer to that more finished and state, I can see us doing that in Stars Reach also.
Yep. I don't know if Dredd has checked that out.
Even more so
I think Dredd
in Stars Reach, because Dune Awakening has a good crafting system. The thing is everyone can craft everything. And that's
what I wanted to ask you. Do you like the fact that you can go out to these points and collect additional intel points or research points to research everything? Or do you like it when you kind of have so much to research that you can't do it on your own, like in Ark? I don't know if you've ever played Ark, but Dredd knows what I mean. Like, usually in Ark, like you said, have someone do learn all the structures so that they can just base build, or, you do your essential personal stuff, but then you add on the team thing of base building. Like, I would build all the bases, so on and so forth. But do you like in Dune's Reach where you can totally be solo and learn everything, or not?
So for a small multiplayer game, I prefer the solo aspect. You're doing something MMO light, like what Dune Awakening is doing, or you go the MMO route, I prefer the other direction. I prefer the way things were done in Star Wars Galaxies.
Yes.
I prefer it to where you specialize in shipbuilding, but then you need to get someone who specializes in something else to build a component for your ship.
Yeah.
And so that builds the online community, because that's really what MMOs are.
Yeah,
And
I'm glad you said that.
unfortunately, World of Warcraft sort of dumbed that down by casualizing it too much. By making MMOs too easy, because the original, EverQuest, you had to group up to fight mobs.
Yeah, I played
they
that.
wanted to do more with Ultima Online to make it more sociable, and had to dumb that down because they didn't have the capability to do what they wanted to do, which is now what Stars Reach is wanting to do. So I wish that in Dune Awakening, the crafting was sort of limited. You get your specialists for bikes, you get your specialists for ornithopters, you get your specialists for weapon building, you get your specialists for armor building and stuff like that, so that there's more of a community interaction. And because it has that MMO light feel, that would cause a lot of trading going on, and cause an in-game marketplace, which this game, I really don't see it have an in-game marketplace right now.
No. What about you,
No.
Dread?
What?
Do you like the concept of having, like, to trade, like, he said he would be like weapon specializations and I'd be vehicle specializations and you'd be, base specializations? Or do you like the fact that you could just go solo if you wanted and not deal with anyone?
Yeah, no, if we're going to be a tribe or a guild or something, we should all have a function, because that's how we'll be successful.
Yeah.
But if something were to happen where, one of us was killed by a sandworm or something and someone had to step in, at least we know we can.
Yeah, and I think that's the mindset of all three
safety
of us.
line, and I see where you're going with that, but then it also limits for if that person gets killed off and those resources, that stuff that they made is gone, it would cause us to have to reach outside of our network of friends to meet new people to get those resources.
Right.
Well, wouldn't they be in a storage facility that we'd all have access to?
But what if you're in the middle of transporting it to wherever we're going and the sandworm eats it?
Yeah, but that can happen even if we're playing solo.
Yes, but by having the specializations of one person only being able to make weapons, not everyone being able to make weapons, if the weapon maker loses all of the weapons due to the sandworm or something like that, that causes us to reach outside of our network of people we know and meet new people. It causes more socialization.
I thought we all would have the same abilities.
Yeah, so
that's what
Draco's
about.
really talking about is, would you be happier if they limited us on what we were able to build, so you could only specialize in one area, or do you like it being opened?
I like it being open.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I could have put that a little more clearly. Thank you, Control, for clarifying that.
Not a problem. Different people understand things differently. And so you just have to learn that, if they didn't understand the first time, reword it a different way, see if that worked.
Yeah.
Have them ask some more questions so you can see where you went wrong on explaining things, because everyone learns things differently.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a great... So, sorry, I was going to say, and that's a great thing to keep in mind, too, is that it's not just that we all learn differently, we all have different play styles. Like we were saying, she did the sword in Bene Gesserit there, and that was exactly what she wanted. You did the Mentat, and that's exactly what you wanted. And I did the Trooper and found out that's not what I wanted, So I like the fact, too, that we have that option.
Yeah, and that is a great thing there of having that option, and the fact that we're not just locked into that class. So you didn't just waste those points. You have those there. But as you gain more points, you could then move over to being a mentat or go over
I
and
ended
be
up becoming a planetologist, trooper planetologist.
exactly. Now what I'm wondering is in the fact of the game being the way it is, what are you guys mainly wanting to focus on in the game? What's sort of your guys' end goal for the game?
I couldn't really tell you. Just keep going and have fun with it.
Okay.
No, that's a good goal. I like that one.
Yeah.
Mine would be, it's not necessarily like an end goal because, like you said, I feel that not only can we work well together in Dune Awakening, but we could do well in Star's Reach or Ark or No Man's Sky as a, team or whatever. But I guess that would be my end goal for all of us. But for Dune itself, my end goal is I want to have the fun, but I also kind of want to just focus on like I'll do the PvP, I'll do the let's go raid this facility, whatever. But I think I'm gonna probably try to focus on the building because that's one of the things I like to do. I do like the MMO stuff, going and doing the missions and stuff, like I said. But when we're together, I think I'll try and focus on the building and just grouping up and going doing things as a group. I'm not going to do much of like the solo stuff. I'll have a separate character just for that.
So I sense that Draco's going to be cursing my name in his videos in the future.
Okay, why is that?
Because we're giving full access to each other's buildings and vehicles.
Oh God. All I ask is don't mess too much with my because I have wicked OCD. Don't mess with like the inventory in the containers too much.
Okay, don't mess around with
you
the
can
inventory.
move the container. You can move the whole container.
Because of the OCD.
Yeah.
So if your floorboards are all facing different ways, you'll know it was one of us.
I will know it was one of you, and I will face them the right way, and then I will curse you in video. But don't go into my inventory and unalphabetize all my different resources and stuff. I will maybe rage
mix up all the boxes.
Yeah, you can mix up the boxes. I
now want to go in and make all of his floor pieces his roof pieces, and all of his roof pieces floor pieces.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. that would be a pain in the ass.
Turn his wall inside out.
Like I said, you'll be ask Dredd. You'll be swearing my name.
Yeah.
But for me, it's checking out what all can be done and learning things and creative ways of doing things, because there's so many people that are out there that are like, okay, I'm going to min-max this and this is going to be the best because it's min-max. I hate to say it, min-maxing doesn't mean you are the best. Knowing your character and how your character plays to fit you makes it the best. Pure and simple. I since EverQuest, I have been of that mind thought. I'm going to share one story from EverQuest. I was playing EverQuest, and I was in this big guild, and I was really low level compared to everyone else. I was 20 levels under, and they were going to go do this this dungeon. I said, I want to come along. And they're all like, no, you're too low level. You won't be able to handle yourself. And I said, look, I know my class really well. I can handle myself. And this druid kept on saying, no, you're too weak. You're not geared good enough even for your level. You won't be able to handle it. And I said, you want to bet? And they're like, well, how are we going to prove it? And I said, simple. You duel me. You're 20 levels higher than me. You're spec'd out to the best gear possible for your level. Duel me. If I beat you, I get to join in. If you beat me, I will give you all of the platinum I have, and I will donate it to the guild.
Nice.
They agreed because they thought it was an easy win. I did lose by 1 health point.
Oh, wow. So,
And they were shocked. They were so impressed that they're like, okay, yes, you did lose. Let's make a compromise. You join us on this raid and you donate half the platinum to the guild. I said, no, I'll donate the whole entire platinum and I'll just go and do my own thing. And they're like, no, we now want you on this run. We see where your power is. And that's just because I knew my class so well. I knew how to handle my class, its abilities, its strengths, its weaknesses, and things like that. That's all you have to learn.
Yeah. I kind of have a story, not just of EverQuest, but it goes for all the gaming, even the tabletop gaming, like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. Again, this for me, this works in any game of where you can min-max your character. Is I can do that. I can min-max my character. I can be hardcore. I can go with, but I enjoy playing characters that I choose the abilities for, and I want to play it a certain way. Like you're saying, I don't want to be a carbon copy of such and such, druid or whatever class I'm playing. Like you said, in a game, a Dungeons and Dragons game, tabletop game, I expressed myself to the group saying, you don't understand what I could have done with my character, but I instead like to enjoy the character, and I will, like you, learn my character, learn what's best for me, and then play it very well. Even if it's not min-maxed. Like, I played this trooper in Dune, and it wasn't my playstyle, but I was doing really good. I was still doing really good. I wasn't the best, but I enjoyed it the way that I wanted to play. And again, you probably wouldn't pick planetologist as a second, class. You would probably pick something, along the lines of Mentat or even Swordmaster.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not about being the most powerful. It's about you having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you predominantly need to look at. Yeah. So then I want to bring up one last topic, and I think we're pretty much in, unless you guys have any topics you want to bring up. The topic I want to bring up is the beginning, where it makes you feel that you're the chosen one to save and find the Fremen, and you're special from everyone else. What are your guys' thoughts on that part of the story? That we're playing with hundreds of other people, but we're all the chosen one.
Drake can go first.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing with a whole bunch of people and they've all got the same story going on, it's kind of unbelievable. But I do like the storyline, and who knows? Maybe that that old Bene Gesserit lady, she doesn't know who's going to survive. So any one of us could end up being the one.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
I like that you said that, because for those who don't know much about the Dune lore, or haven't seen all the movies and the new shows and the new movies and the books and stuff, that is exactly how the Ben Gesserit is that they have taken throughout the years, and they have, just like a gambler, instead of placing bets all on red, they're placing it in different areas. So, they're not just trying to help the Atreides, they're not just trying to help the Harkonnens, not just trying to help any of the houses or the Emperor or all that. They've got their hands in everyone's pockets. So I like that aspect. But as far as gaming goes for like Dune Awakening or any MMO, is I don't like the idea of playing someone, oh, you're the, I'm not Neo in the Matrix because I know there's 100 other
Right.
people on the server. So I don't like that usually. But again, this is Dune where the benzogenerate, whatever it's called, uh, Benegenerate, yeah,
Benegenerate. Like,
the degenerates, but the sisterhood, I just call them the sisterhood.
Bene
And,
Gesserit.
Bene
and half of
Gesserit.
our audience just laugh blasphemy.
Yeah, blasphemy. But no, in the Dune lore, it works, in my opinion. They would send 100 people down to the planet to try and find and revive the Fremen, whereas in other games, like, say a Star Wars game, oh, you're a Jedi, you're one of the chosen. It's like, no, I know there's 100 more people playing this game. They're all
Yeah,
chosen.
exactly. And that's the thing. It works for this because the story was already preset up that way. That's how it was written. That's how the Ben Gesserits, like you said, do things. They don't just send out one person, they send out a bunch of people.
Yeah.
They don't hedge their bet on one thing, they split it out. It's not like if you've played Star Wars Galaxies, where there were a bunch of Jedi's running around during the time of
No Jedis.
a New Hope type of thing. No, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see them at all because they were being hunted.
Yeah.
And so it breaks that immersion. But in Dune, it doesn't. Because, like you mentioned, Draco, of how the Bene Gesserits play their politics and try to manipulate things.
Yeah.
Now, personally, that's why I didn't choose to be Bene Gesserit, is because my plan is I'm playing my character as he doesn't like to be played with, like as a puppet, so he wants to screw him over as much as possible.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. See, I
like coming up with backstories for my characters.
I was going to say, to touch on that, I do the same thing because these are called MMORPGs, which is massive multiplayer online role-playing games where you are playing a character. And I think that's where a lot of people forget to do, is to do kind of the role play. If you're playing with that mindset of my character has a background that I created and I want to play it like that, other people aren't picking up on that. But that's what I like to do.
Yeah, same here. What about you, Dred? Where are your feel on creating a backstory for your character, even though it's just to yourself?
Right? Yeah, I've created backstories for characters before. I used to belong to an ARC group that, I mean, they didn't even have the ARC lore. They did something completely different. So,
Nice.
I mean, if you want to do backstories, just let me know what angle we're looking for, and I'll
Well, it's not so much that we want to do it, it's just we enjoy doing it, even like he said, even if it's just for ourselves. Like,
right.
Dred may have caught this controlled, I don't know if you have, but to explain it a little further, I played Fallout 76 and I recorded a few videos when I started my content creation. And usually, and you'll see this when we play Dune together, is I like to have a character called Morticia DeRaven, like D''Raven. And it was a Fallout character I created for the tabletop, but I've stuck with it. And basically, Morticia DeRaven has become my gunslinger. So that's basically my backstory. And it also gives me an excuse to play a female character, which I enjoy to do.
Yeah.
But
it's like any time I make a character that uses a sword or a shield, a javelin or a spear, I always make them a female character. Or if they're very martial arts orientated and acrobatic, I make it a female character.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we rock.
I mean, not only
Yeah,
that, but
I can't argue. I can't argue with that, but I'm intimidated by women because their pecs are always bigger.
see, I usually play
Not
women
always,
in games like that because usually they have the smaller hitbox.
There's another good reason. That's actually a very good reason. So, do you guys
did
have
not know that.
anything you want to bring up about the game?
No, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Do
I'm
you
gonna
think
enjoy
it's
it.
going to be the next big thing like Arc or anything like that? I want to ask that before I voice my.
I think that the jury's still out. I think the game is. It seems like it's very large. Um, as far as how much space it takes up on the computer,
Yeah.
and if you don't have the right, if you don't have the right graphics and everything like that, you're just not gonna be able to play it. Whereas
Yeah.
Arc, you can kind of get by.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree
so
with that.
my thoughts on this, I'm going to come from being an MMO expert. And I have played every single Funcom MMO. I think if they keep on top of doing the updates, they will keep a big community, and as long as they're doing good on their updates and they're keeping true to the Dune lore and feel, that group will continue to grow and grow and grow. And I know that Funcom players will flock to this game because Funcom has not shut down a single MMO they've done. They started back in 2001 with Anarchy Online. You can still jump on the official Anarchy Online servers and play that game. Same with Age of Conan and Secret Worlds. All three of those MMOs they made, and you can still jump on the official ones. Now, are they adding more content into those games? No, they are in maintenance mode. So, and the developers have straight out said we plan on supporting the game for years to come. So at some point in time, I think it will hit that maintenance mode, and I think that's when the numbers will start to dip, just like with any other good MMO. The moment they stop adding in new content for the current players to deal with and play with, that's the moment they're going to lose a big chunk of their player base.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I agree with that. And I agree with what Dredd said, is it's kind of on that fence right now that, everyone has played these games and they are, waiting for it. Because I'm sure, like me, not everyone has played all of the Funcom games and realized what you just said, which I'm appreciative of your point of view, because it made me think, oh, okay, maybe this can be, I was on that fence, and maybe if they do, like he says, and keep up on this, they can make it last long, 5, 10, 15 years, and then put it in maintenance mode. And that would be perfect. That was like the perfect scenario, I think. But I do agree with Dredd, like I said, on the fence. A lot of people are. But my hope is that it becomes like you said, and that it does last a while, because I enjoyed having fun in the game. I want us to enjoy making content and having fun in the game, and pranking each other in the game and entertaining our audiences. But
yeah, definitely.
I was going to say my whole point of view on it is I think they are going to be limited because of the map that they made. They would have to expand that at some point, if that makes sense.
Well, and that's the thing. They've already talked about that. They've actually talked about going to other worlds in the Dune universe.
Yeah, see, that's
so
what's
they
going to
have
be.
plans for expansions and going to other worlds. It's not just Arrakis that will be on. It's what they're launching with. And they have the experience of doing expansions with MMOs and survival games. Look at Conan Exiles and how many expansions they've done on that. They added a whole entire new map.
So
Yeah.
what is the when you launch the game
Mhm.
and you're going into Dune Awakening, there's like a bunch of games on the side,
Those are
like
the games he's
Conan
talking about.
and
Those are the other games
yeah.
they
So
But
that's
support.
there's one
Funcom's launcher.
Yeah.
there's one called Dune Spice Wars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
so
older
that's a
game.
strategy game. That's a strategy game that Funcom made.
Okay.
So, but I mean,
Is that also multiplayer? Is that something you
I
guys
don't know. I really haven't
consider
looked
wanting to
into
do?
it. I'm planning on getting it and taking a look into it because personally I like strategy games. But I'll let you know on that. The one thing I want to bring up about you guys saying being on the fence for some of the people looking at Dune Awakening,
Uh-huh.
I think what will win the players over is when the game launches, seeing them to continue on, correcting course when they've made a choice that the player base doesn't like, seeing new content being added and improving the game. I think that will slowly win people over, even if they have a bad, rough launch, which a majority MMOs have.
I have
If
something
they
to
keep
say.
true, they can do what No Man's Sky's done, and just slowly, continuously grow with every update their player base.
I wanted to touch on something you said there about how if they take in the feedback and stuff, is I don't think a lot of people understand that Funcom is one of those developers that actually do the feedback and they receive it, and then they also keep you up to date on it and stuff, because I think that's what has soured a lot of people on games like this, is that the developers don't do the feedback. They're just like, oh, give us your feedback, and then they do nothing about it, or they ignore it completely, or it's like, oh yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it type things. But I played many hours on Conan Exiles, and I can say that Funcom is one of those developers that does actually, like you said, take stock in the feedback of the community, and they are really one of the only developers, I think, that really truly understand that without, I don't want to say like pleasing us, but without listening to us or whatever, the community, that they're not going to have a game. They're not going to have a player base.
Cool point. Yes. When the player base starts dying off and getting really low, that's when they sort of stop. And I've seen it in multiples. They did it with Anarchy Online. They did it with Age of Conan. They did it with Secret Worlds. When the player base starts dying down a healthy amount, they don't double down and add in more content or readjust or anything like that. They just sort of let it go into maintenance mode. And that's one change I'd like to see Funcom make, is when that player base starts dipping sharp, don't just back away, but double down.
Yeah.
Give them a reason to come back.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Pure and simple. So many game development companies, they see their player base go away, and then they just sort of wash their hands of it and walk away and go on to their next thing. Very, very, very few games try to correct the ship and fix the problem.
Right.
Hello Games is one of those companies that, they literally hit an iceberg with the launch of No Man's Sky. They fixed the ship, they corrected the ship, and made it bigger and better than it was before. I hope that Funcom does the same thing for Dune Awakening, because there are not that many MMO or MMO light combined arms PvP combat games. There's only one I can think of, and that's PlanetSide 2. And I want to see more games like that, because they are very fun. Even
Right.
if you're a terrible shot, you have something to do. You can be one of those people that builds a base for people to respawn at. You can be one of those people gathering resources, making equipment for the warriors.
And you're having fun with your friends.
You don't need to be in the front lines of the combat. And even if you are, they could add in healing gear to where you can be a healer.
Yeah.
And things like that to make you more accessible. So, that's my one takeaway is even if you're not big into PvP, don't fully shun it because you can still be helpful in the big aspect of the whole entire PvP thing.
And I think that's a good thing with this Dune game too. Is they seem to have balanced it out good, from what I've seen so far. Just the beta is that even if you don't like PvP, but you like to be with your friends, like you said, they can do just the PvE aspect of it while the rest of them go off and do the PvP. Like you said, build a base, to have a respawn, or maybe continuously making gear and weapons and things like that. And I think this game is going to succeed in that aspect, or I hope anyway.
Yes, I do.
Right.
That's the one thing that I did different than what PlanetSide did is because PlanetSide is nothing but strictly PvP combat.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do in PlanetSide that's not combat related is be an engineer and fixing vehicles, or being a healer and healing and rezzing people. Right. Other than that, you're shooting a gun, firing missiles, things like that. Dune Awakening has its opportunity to make itself something different from the all-arms combat, massive all-arms combat from PlanetSide 2, and differentiates itself. I'd like to see them grow the battles to be bigger. Instead of hundreds of people, I'd like them to get up to like 1,000, 2,000 people and be some kind of competition for PlanetSide 2, just so that PlanetSide 2 feels the sweat and ups their game.
Yeah, that sounds
because
like it should.
They need some kind of competition.
Yeah.
And I think Dune Awakening is the closest to it.
Yeah. That brings up one thing, because you're talking about the PvP and the size of, basically the servers of like PlanetSide 2 or so on. What do you guys think? I meant to ask this earlier on about the server, the way the servers are set up. Do you understand what they've done? They have. So let me rephrase that. You pick a server, then you pick a siege, I believe it's called, which is like one of the many sub-servers of that that server. But each one of those only has up to 40 people at a time. Do you like, the 40? Would you like to see it smaller, or would you like to see it bigger?
Good question.
Well,
I think they have to kind of limit it. I mean, it's like with No Man's Sky. If you get too many people in there, everybody starts disappearing and going into a different instance. I think that's why you have the different choices and the limitations, just to prevent that.
Yeah.
I think differently. Because this is being made by an MMO company, I think they could have made Haga Basin with the size it is. I think they could have maybe made it a little bit bigger and let more people in. Maybe that's the reason why they stopped calling it an MMO.
Oh, maybe.
And instead are calling it an online survival game.
Yeah.
Is they realize they are not as big as what MMO is supposed to be, which they corrected themselves on that, and that's good. But I think they could have, with their experience, pushed themselves a bit further in going that MMO direction. If this was their first MMO or MMO type of game, I'd be happy with what they've done. But with the experience that they have in both MMOs and survival games, I think they could have gone a bit further in the MMO side of things. Now, the deep desert side, I'm happy with. I'm fine with it being, hundreds of players. The worlds and instances of those worlds, that's where I think they could have gone a bit bigger.
Yeah. See, I'm in kind of the middle of, again, you and Dredd. I think 40 is a little small, like you said, for a company like this. But I also think they're thinking like a lot of the games like Ark and No Man's Sky and whatever, when you have over a certain amount of players, say over 100 people, is it starts to get too bogged down graphics wise, and it starts, causing problems for some players, which I think is why they went on the side of caution of 40. I think they could have gone between 60 and 80, and they would have been fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with you on that. I think that if they make connected zones and let people build out into those connected zones, so you'll have like Haga Basin, and then there's a zone connected to Haga Basin that you can walk into, and it does a bit of a loading screen and it puts you onto another sort of sub-server. I think, and that's sort of like the EverQuest way of doing things, World of Warcraft way of doing things, Anarchy Online did it, so they definitely know how to do it. I think then each individual zone area could handle easily the 100 people. I think the reason they're limiting it is they don't want it getting too crowded with so many buildings to where every time you turn just a millimeter, you're seeing a new base.
I agree with that.
I think that was our main constraint there.
I agree with that,
build
except
a
for
big enough area to fit more people in building bases.
Yeah, I agree with that, except
some of
for
the bases
fact
I
that
saw were pretty large.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people who play these games, they don't like that zone aspect, of waiting 30 seconds to a minute to go from one area to the other, and I think they took that into consideration. That's my opinion.
Yeah, true. But, when you're advertising it originally as an MMO, you're getting those MMO players, and therefore they're getting that expectation of, okay, there's going to be zoning, there's going to be loading. And every gamer who plays games is used to loading.
I mean, they do that even in single-player games, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would be something that would hamper them. Letting people know ahead of time that, hey, you're going to be loading into different zones is something that they would need to do. They need to announce it beforehand. Yeah. They need to announce if they do add a second zone that connects to Haga Basin that you can walk into, that, hey, there's going to be a loading transfer in this. If they do that, everyone's going to be fine with it. If they don't say, hey, there's loading here, and it's not going to be seamless, and that will upset players. It's like in Stars Reach. What did they say? No, our zoning is not going to be seamless. You're going to have a load screen popped up. Expectations are set, so therefore when it happens, no one's caught off guard. It's when you state something one way and it happens a different way than what's been stated that players get upset.
Yeah, right? I agree with that. But also, like, to the point of a game like Stars Reach versus Dune Awakening, whereas Dune is one map, they want it seamless. But with Stars Reach, it's not one map because you travel from planet to planet and you have deep space in between, and you load in between planet to deep space and deep space to planet. And I think that people expect that because that is at that point taking a whole new map. So if what you said before about Dune Awakening, if they do add in other planets, I think that's where you're going to see they're going to be like, okay, listen, we have to do the loading zone. Loading thing, because you're basically just going to a whole new thing. And I think a game like Ark did that very well with the fact that once you complete one map, you basically ascended into a loading screen, a cinematic, and then you go to the next map. So I'm hoping it's kind of like that. Like, you would be leaving Dune on your ship, and there's a cinematic of you leaving on your ship, sort of like Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah, so they do have that system. There is loading screens in there because when you go from Haga Basin to Deep Desert or one of the social hubs, they have this overplanetary map of you actually moving from one location to another.
Right.
And in the background, everything's loading.
Right, but I'm talking like
And
if you're going from Haga Basin to Eastern Gap there. Players don't want that zoning. So I think that's, what most people expect nowadays. That's
true. But, I mean, I think if you set the expectation, then give that. So if they are able to expand Haga Basin to be a bigger area and add more to it without doing zoning, and they just say, hey, we've added in more to Haga Basin, here you go, and then there's seamless zoning, everyone's going to be happy. However, if they say, hey, we've expanded Haga Basin, but there's this new area, there's a bit of load time there, people might be a little taken back and a little bit upset at first, but because they set the expectation ahead of time, it's not going to be as bad as them saying, hey, we expanded Haga Basin and left it at that, and then there's load and zone time.
Mm-hmm.
That would royally upset people.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that would.
So, any other questions or thoughts on Dune Awakening?
No, I'm looking forward to playing with you guys. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say I'm not thinking of anything else we didn't touch upon. We touched upon watch for the UI stuff, read what each thing can do, check for secret rooms, watch out for the worms because you will pucker. So I think we covered everything we had discussed.
Yep, and if you can't pucker, wear a diaper.
Yeah, make sure you have an extra still suit. Wear brown pants.
Exactly. It's laundry time. But yeah, I think we covered it all. I can't get to getting in there, and I can't wait to watch some of your guys' videos and reactions, because the way I want to set up us playing this is I want us to be on Discord like we're on now and communicating, but I want to set up to press to speak so we can talk to our audience and discuss our notorious plan to screw with someone else in the group or what we're planning without the other people, the other players hearing it.
Right.
So that way they will get the honest reaction of, like when I switch the tiles around on Dread, you'll get her honest reaction when she sees it.
Yeah. I think her reaction's going to be a lot less than mine.
Right?
You'd
I'm
be surprised.
not as OCD.
I know what Dread's reaction would be. She wouldn't get mad. She'll play at poker face. I'll come into my room and she'll have done something to my base as revenge. And that's just from playing golf with friends with you.
Right?
In fact, it's a 50-50 bet right now on who's going to mess with who first. Will it be me or will it be Dread?
I think it'll be you.
You're
think, quite the instigator.
I think you guys are leaving me out.
I'm a sweet angel. I do nothing wrong. My name doesn't represent anything about me.
Right.
I think you're both wrong. It's going to be me messing with both of you so that you both think that you messed with each other and you're going to leave me alone because you're going to be in a feud.
Oh, that's going to be epic if we accidentally do that. It's like the Spider-Man effect of 3 Spider-Men standing there all pointing at each other.
Right? Funny.
Oh, guys, this is
like I said,
great.
if you're a content creator, you want to get in on this, and it fits with what you're into, and you like the idea, want to be a part of this, reach out to one of us.
Yeah, check out our
Just wondering
YouTubes
how
and
receptive
Discords.
Mikey's going to be.
That's the thing. You have to be receptive to it.
Yeah.
If you will get upset, and it will actually upset you, make you feel bad, do not join us in on this. It's all for fun. We're not doing it to be mean. We all agreed ahead of time that this is okay, and we're going to laugh it off, and we're not going to take it personally. If you can do that and makes you personally laugh, then join us. If not, go do your own thing. But don't be afraid to reach out to us to do some collab on maybe something else.
Yeah, or even if you want to do a collab with Dune, we could be serious if we want.
Yeah, we can do serious stuff. It's just all three of us like to mess around and just goof around. I like watching those videos where they're messing with one another. It makes me laugh. Because me and my friends would do it all the time. And it started back in my EverQuest days. I remember my friend was sitting right next to me with his computer, and he wanted to duel me. I said, okay, yeah, sure. So I'm dueling him, and I'm losing badly. So what do? I in-task my game. I shut down my game, and I'm sitting back, relaxed, hands behind my head, smiling. And he's like, what the hell's going on? All of a sudden you're beating me. All of a sudden you're beating me. He looks over at me. He sees me lounging in my desk. Looks at my screen and sees I have just the desktop and no gaming. He's like, what the hell? I said, I in-tasked you. He goes, what does that mean? I said, simple. The developers, because they know people get dropped all the time, when the connection is lost, they turn your character into an NPC, they buff the health, and they buff the damage.
Yep.
He's like, okay, fine. We go to do another duel, and he's like, okay, this time you cannot in-task. You have to stay in-game and connected. If you do lose connection, you have to let me know. I said, okay, great. Where do you want to do this? And he goes, we can do it right outside my home city. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm safe there. I can do that. Let's duel. So we start the duel, and I'm not attacking. And he's like, you gonna attack? And I said, no, I'll let you do the first strike. He hits me once. The guard staying right next to me, which is of his city, reaches out and hits him once and he's dead.
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell? I said, oh, I forgot to tell you. Guards will attack the person who initiates the first hit in a duel.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's the type of fun. And he was laughing about it. He thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And then,
I
this
think,
was way before YouTube. But that's just the type of person I am.
I think, if you want to reach out and have fun and make entertaining videos, please do reach out. But like you said, controlled. If it's gonna be too much and upset you, we don't want that. We don't want to upset anyone. So if you do want to do something collaborative and serious, let us know which you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. And
versatile.
Exactly. And, I mean, heck, I wouldn't mind, all three of us going and working on a serious thing with another content creator if they need our help.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not going to be that we're going to be all doing just Dune and fun. At times, I'm sure the three of us were going to go and we're going to run through like a testing station or a ship or something together. So it's not always going to be just jokes, but we want to include that because we all like to do that to each other.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know I'm probably going to be doing some tutorial and guide videos. I'm going to be making a second character just to specifically do that. That's going to be on a different world. Because I'm on the West Coast and you guys are on the East Coast. So most likely we're going to play on an East Coast server. If they have a Central Coast or a central location in the United States, I'd say we pick that so it's 50-50 split.
Oh,
but right now, I'm thinking East Coast would be a better side because both of you on the East Coast, I'm the only one on the West Coast.
Yeah. No, I mean, we can talk about that, in after
So,
this or whatever.
I think we've pretty much covered everything. I want to thank you guys all for watching and have a good night.
Yes, thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a great night.
And
See you June 10th for Dune Awakening.
June 5th, you get the pre-order, right? Of the
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
June
so
5th,
June
5
5th.
days early.
Yeah, 5
I
days
think
early.
they may have changed that to only the $90 value one. So
No,
if that is the case,
Either way.
Let me look up real quick before we do it, because I'm pretty sure it was either of the editions. Yeah, no, it is the deluxe and the ultimate edition.
okay, excellent. So we will be
Awesome.
June 5th.
Yay!
Cool. I was a bit worried because when I was looking at the Steam dashboard, it had a little banner over the $90 one that says get in June 5th, and it didn't have it on the $70 one.
There was one more thing that I just remembered that I wanted to express in this collaboration, that I did try to do the beta test this weekend on my Steam Deck OLED, and the graphics looked great and everything, but Battle Eye stopped me before character creation, and I think that's just because it was the beta test. So I'm hoping with the full game release, it will be usable on the Steam Deck. So for me and for everyone else that has a Steam Deck, don't forget that that may be an option. And I am going to be making a video, probably the 5th or 6th, about if that works or not and how well.
Oh, definitely. Keep an eye on Draco's channel for that. Once again, link to both Dreads and Draco's channel are down below, and you guys will have links to our, each other's channels, right?
Yep.
Yep, and I'll have a link to yours and Draco's on mine. So.
Yeah, and I will have Dreads in yours.
Sounds good.